what's up? It's Karen San Diego, and this video is going to be part 2 of my 3-part VSG Q&A series. If you have not already watched part 1, make sure you go back and watch it. Part 1 was answering all of the questions that you asked that pertain to love, sex, marriage, and family. In this video, part 2, I'm going to be answering all of the questions that you guys asked me that related to pre-op, so before you actually get your surgery done. If you are new here and have not seen my previous videos, I'm doing this Q&A series in honor of reaching my milestone of 10,000 subscribers here on this channel. If you look down at the subscriber count, we are at 10,000 and counting. So I wanted to do something to celebrate. I gave you guys a Google form, allowed you to ask as many questions as you want, and I got so many questions, which is why I had to break this video up into 3 parts so I can answer every single question that came in. And without further ado, let's get right to the questions. All right, question number 1 says, how much weight did your doctor estimate you were going to lose? I'm 5'7" and was 237 pounds on the day of surgery. They told me I should be between 130 to 135 after a year. So I've heard a lot of people say this about their doctor giving them a certain amount of weight to lose or telling them how much weight they might lose. My doctor actually never did this. She never told me how much weight I should lose. She never told me how much weight that she believed I would lose or where she thinks I would end up. Any sort of benchmarks as it pertains to weight, I was never given any of those. Every time that I had an appointment after surgery, I was pretty much right on track with weight loss, so they never had to tell me to lose a certain amount of weight. And definitely in my pre-op stages, that never came up. So this is one of those things where it really goes differently from depending on who your doctor is. Every doctor has a different way of doing things. My doctor in particular never gave me a certain requirement for how much I should lose, and also never set any expectations with me as far as how much weight she believed I should lose. And I'm actually grateful for this, because I think that if she had done that, mentally I would have felt a little bit more pressure to hit a certain milestone at a certain point. But basically the way my program was set up, it's like I'm just trying to get to a healthier place. Like there's no numbers in mind. It's just kind of, you're gonna lose weight. And she let me know that I would lose the most of my weight within the first year without giving me any pressure on what number she thought I would get to. So to answer this question, no, I did not get any sort of weight goals, and my doctor never projected any sort of number as far as what weight she thought I would get to. However, looking at what you said your doctor told you, you are 237 at the time surgery, and then she told you after a year you should be down to 130 to 135. To me, based off of how I'm losing weight right now and based off what I've seen from other people, I think that what your doctor told you is pretty much spot on. Most people lose about 100 pounds within the first year. And if you're 237 and she's telling you you're probably going to get to 130, 135 within a year, that to me sounds pretty accurate. So it sounds like your doctor's giving you good advice. However, my doctor never gave me any sort of numbers like that for me specifically. All right, next question says, how did you pay for it? By yourself or with insurance? So my insurance did cover my surgery 100%. I did not come out of pocket for my surgery. However, the only thing that I did have to come out of pocket for was my, what is it called? My endoscopy. I had to have the endoscopy where they put is it called an endoscopy? Yeah, I think so. It's the thing where they put the little camera down your throat and look inside your stomach to see if you have any problems. During my endoscopy, they did see that I had a hernia, which was repaired during surgery. And my endoscopy was not covered by insurance at all. I had to come out of pocket $1,200 for that. But then my insurance did cover the surgery, which I thought was really weird, but whatever. They didn't cover the endoscopy, but they did cover the surgery. So the surgery I did not pay for. However, my endoscopy I did have to pay for out of pocket. Next question says, how long after your consultation did you get a surgery date? So for questions like this, it all matters what insurance you have and who your doctor is. For me, my doctor did not have any sort of time period that you had to wait before getting surgery, and luckily my insurance also did not have any time period that was required before surgery. So you have to call your insurance and ask your doctor, you know, what their practices are. But for my insurance, and at the time my insurance was Cigna, And you know, for my doctor, I went to Dr. Thomas at the New Jersey Bariatric Center. Neither of them had any waiting period. So my surgery could have went as quick as I needed it to. At the time, I had some appointments that I had to schedule, and I was working full-time as a teacher. So my schedule, you know, I really couldn't schedule anything during the week. So I had to go based off weekend availability, which made things more difficult. So I think from start to finish, maybe everything took around like 2 months or so from the time I started my consultation to the time I had my actual surgery. It might have actually been a little bit less, but I want to say maybe about 2 months, give or take a few weeks. So somewhere between a month and a half and 2 months. It went really quick because I had to schedule my appointments, get approval for my PCP, schedule my endoscopy, do like my blood work and stuff like that. And then once all that was scheduled, I got a date. I got a phone call with the date for my surgery. And when she gave me my date was literally like a week and a half away from when I got that phone call. So yeah, things moved really, really quickly. But that's because of my insurance and my doctor. Now, some people have insurances that make them wait 6 months and have to do 6 months worth of psychiatric evaluations from the therapist beforehand. Cigna actually only required me to meet with the therapist one time, whereas some people have to do it over a 6-month period. So this is going to depend on your insurance, but for me with Cigna, it was a really quick process. I want to say maybe a month to 2 months, no more than 2 months is what it took me from start to finish to start my first appointment and then actually booking my surgery. Next question says, do you have any regrets? And I feel like I answer this one all the time. I get to ask this question a lot, and the answer is absolutely not. I do not have a single regret when it comes to this surgery. Before surgery, I was in a really, really bad place mentally. I was not happy within myself. I felt ashamed at how bad I had let myself go. And it felt like no matter what I did to try to improve, it just was not working. I was trying different diets. I couldn't stick to them. I did not have the energy to do anything. I felt really insecure in the way that I looked, and that was causing me to not be productive in so many aspects of my life. I was just miserable. And since having surgery, even before I physically started looking different, I feel like just the fact that I took the chance and did something to try to improve my life, that alone caused a confidence boost in myself that has improved so many aspects of my life that I didn't expect. Like, I was expecting to feel better about the way that I looked, but I wasn't expecting to feel better professionally. Like, I'm more ambitious. I wasn't expecting to be better as far as my personality. Like, I'm just a happier, more optimistic person now than I was before. I wasn't expecting to want to go out as much as I do. I was so introverted, and I still am. But now, like, I want to go out. I want to be seen. I want to network and do all these things that I didn't do before. So I feel like sometimes when I look back at my old pictures, I'm like trying to figure out who that person is because I don't resonate with her. Like, I feel like the surgery not only changed my physical appearance, but it also mentally changed who I am at the core. And for that, I'm grateful to the surgery, and I do not regret it. I talk about the cons sometimes, which was the body dysmorphia in the beginning and, you know, the pain right after surgery. But I feel like all of that is so worth it to be able to change yourself this dramatically for the better. I don't have a single regret. The next question says, did you lose weight beforehand? I'm struggling so much pre-op because I can't lose weight, and I've been gaining. I feel that I look horrible and waiting for insurance approval. And then she put a sad face emoji. For this one, I've heard people mention having to lose weight before getting approved for the surgery. I personally did not have any sort of weight thing that I had to lose a certain amount of weight before getting approved. I want to say sometimes I feel like they give those requirements to people who are at a heavier starting weight. Like, I think people who start off, like, there's different, like, you have to be at a BMI of 40 to get approved for surgery. I think it's 40. Anything over 40. But then there's, depending on how high you are above that, I think the higher you are, is when they start asking for you to lose a little bit of weight first. But I think I was within the range where they didn't require that of me. I actually don't know that for sure, just based off things that I've heard. A lot of the people who have told me they had to lose a certain amount of weight before getting the surgery also were at a higher starting weight than I was. So I think that that might have something to do with it. It also could just be your doctor. So no, I did not have to lose weight prior to surgery. But what I will say is that before surgery, my doctor had me on a 1,200 calorie diet. That was my liver shrinking diet. Whereas some people do a liquid diet before surgery for their liquid liver shrinking diet. Mine was literally just 1,200 calories. And I was on that for about a week and a half. And during that week and a half, I had lost like 10 pounds just by eating 1,200 calories. I didn't change anything about the things that I was eating. I was just very, very strict. I counted my calories and ate 1,200 calories or less every single day and was able to lose 10 pounds in a week. So if you are needing to lose weight prior to surgery, I would suggest doing that, because with that, it's not too restrictive. You're not eating a lot of calories, but you can still eat what you want to eat. So I would recommend, if you're struggling to lose weight prior to surgery in order to get approval, that you try eating a 1,200 calorie diet. And within that diet, if it's not working after like a week or so, try lowering the amount of carbs you're eating and still staying under the 1,200 calorie diet. I think with that, for sure, you should be able to at least drop a few pounds to get yourself approved for surgery. Next question says, how was the second phase of preoperative testing and how long did it take for surgery day? I'm not sure what you mean by second phase of preoperative testing. I didn't have like different phases. I literally just had to do my endoscopy. I had to do blood work. I had to do my meeting with my therapist. I had to have 2 meetings with the nutritionist, and I had to have an x-ray. That was it. Yeah, that was it. So I didn't have like different rounds. I had those 6 appointments that I had to make. Once I made them, I got my surgery date. So that's all that it was. And like I said, those appointments all took around 2 months, a month and a half to 2 months for me to schedule all of those things. Some of them I was able to schedule on the same day. Like I did my blood work and my x-ray on the same day. The longest thing was the endoscopy, because I had to do that at a surgery center, so that took a while to schedule. But that's all I had to do. So I didn't have different rounds of testing. I had to do those things, and then I got approved for surgery. So I think this is definitely a mixture of your insurance and your doctor. So talk to your doctor, and if you are thinking that the doctor is requiring a lot of things that you want to move faster, maybe try talking to a different doctor's office and seeing what their procedures are like. This is why in my how to prepare for VSG surgery video, I recommended shopping around and booking multiple consultations with different doctors to see what their procedures are like, just in case you feel like the doctor's office that you chose is taking longer than you would like. It's good to know what different doctor's office require, and to know if it's your insurance that has these requirements or if it's the doctor's office that has these requirements. If it's your insurance, you can't do anything about that. You have to do what your insurance wants. But if it's the doctor, you can find a doctor that has a different process. Next question says, do you have any memory of being in the OR or any negative memories from being in the hospital before or after surgery? So I'll start with the last one, because I want to say that I had my surgery in Summit. Is it called? Overlook Medical Center. Overlook Hospital. It's in Summit, New Jersey. And I had an amazing experience there. All of the staff was amazing. They were also attentive. An amazing experience at that hospital. So I had no negative experiences after surgery. Before surgery, it's literally a blur. Like I remember getting to the hospital, being in like a waiting room. Then once they took me back there and gave me the anesthesia, I remember nothing until I woke up in the recovery room. And then at that point, I had to wait like an hour or so. And then my husband was there, and then I was in the my actual room that I would stay in overnight. But once I woke up from surgery, that anesthesia that they give you when you get VSG is different. Like I had surgery before. Well, I had a C-section before, and the drugs they give you, that anesthesia is nothing like the anesthesia they gave me for VSG. Like I could barely stay awake afterwards, which was great because that's when you have the craziest gas pain. So I didn't really feel it because I was sleeping for most of the time. So no, I have no negative experiences from the hospital. And my main experience that I have from the hospital is being really, really tired. Like, I remember portions where I couldn't even open my eyes when I was talking. Like, I would just be talking like this. And it's good that I have my VSG surgery day vlog to look back at. Because I think without having that, I would not remember what happened at all, because I was literally so drugged out of my mind that, like, it was literally all a blur. Like, a lot of my memories from that time are from me watching my vlog back, which is why I recommend vlogging, even if you have no intention of ever putting it on YouTube or putting it anywhere, just having it for your own records, because them drugs are so strong, you won't know what happened that day. Unless, of course, something bad happened. But luckily, I was fortunate enough. I didn't have any complications. Things went smoothly. So my only real memory is being really, really, really drowsy. I remember walking. I remember doing my x-ray where you have to drink that nasty fluid. But my experience overall was very, very pleasant in the hospital, pre-op and post-op. But no, to answer your question about the OR, I don't remember being in an OR. I don't remember ever going in there. I don't know what happened, how I got there, how I got out. I don't remember nothing. Like, literally nothing. Next question says, were you nervous going into surgery? So I remember before surgery, like before the actual day of surgery and like the week leading up to it, I got a lot of questions from like my friends and family asking if I was nervous since I was getting surgery. And honestly, for that whole time leading up, doing all my appointments, then the week before the actual surgery, I was not nervous at all. I wasn't even thinking about it, to be honest. I did not actually get nervous until the day of surgery. Like literally the day of surgery, when I was in the car driving to the hospital, that's when I got nervous. And it wasn't so much the surgery itself, it was the anesthesia and having to be put to sleep that made me a little bit nervous. But not nerves in a way where it would make me feel like I didn't want to do this anymore. It was just like the normal nerves. Like, surgery is a big deal. You're getting surgery, it is scary. The surgery is extremely, extremely, extremely safe. However, I did get nervous just the day of surgery. But luckily that was while I was already on my way to the hospital. So there was no turning back at that point. So the nerves could not get the best of me. I tried to just like blast music in the car and not think about it so that I wouldn't let my nerves get the best of me. But to answer that question, yes and no. Like leading up to it, no, I wasn't nervous. But the day of, I was a ball of nerves the day of surgery. But luckily, we moved pretty quickly from me getting to the hospital and then getting into surgery. So I didn't have that much time to like sit there and stew in my own thoughts. But yeah, I was nervous the day of, but leading up to it, I just tried not to think about it, to be honest. Next question says, what is one thing you would tell someone considering bariatric surgery? The one thing that I would tell someone who is considering bariatric surgery is to make sure you are 1000% ready to change your lifestyle. I'm in, like I mentioned before, the Facebook groups and things like that, and I see a lot of people who don't seem to have the right mindset behind why they got this surgery. And a lot of them, they'll be like, oh, I only really wanted to lose like 15 pounds. I lost that already. I don't want to lose no more. So I don't want to eat small portions anymore. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And it's like, this is you're cutting half of your stomach out of your body permanently. It's not the kind of thing that you do because you want to lose 15 pounds. It's not the kind of thing you do and then decide that you want to go back to binge eating. Like, I see people who literally saying that they're miserable because they can't binge eat. And when I see those comments, like, not to be judgmental, but it makes me think, like, did you speak to a therapist? And like, did the therapist not see these red flags? Like, what were you saying to them? Because you can't go into this surgery wanting to continue to do the things that got you to your highest weight in the first place, like binge eating. So when I see people saying that they're upset that they can't binge eat and they regret getting the surgery because they can't stuff their face at Thanksgiving anymore, it's just like, didn't you get this surgery to prevent yourself from being able to do that so that you can achieve your goals? So I think sometimes people just see it as like an easy way out to lose weight, and they're not thinking about the long-term changes that you're gonna have to make in your life in order to make this surgery successful. So I'd say that if you're considering this surgery, make sure that you're doing this for the right reasons, and make sure that you are 1000% committed before even starting this process, because this is not just some easy thing you do to lose weight and you get to just continue living your life as normal. Life becomes, you have to adjust to a new normal, and binge eating is done. You're done doing that. You're not going to overeat anymore. While yes, I do believe that you can go back to eating some of the things that you used to eat in moderation, but you're never going to go back to eating the way you used to. binging and eating for no reason and overindulging on sweets and all these things that got you to be overweight in the first place, you're gonna have to change that. And you can't be upset that your stomach isn't allowing you to eat that way anymore, because you should be happy that your stomach is being an accountability partner, because you literally went under the knife to get your stomach to work in that way. So I think a lot of people really just mentally were not in a right place to get this done. And if anything, I think therapy should be a bigger part of the pre-op experience. Like I mentioned, that I only saw a therapist one time. I think that having to see a therapist multiple times should actually be a thing for all doctors, just because a lot of people, hearing what people have to say after surgery, mentally we're not in a good place to do this, and we're not mentally ready. So yeah, if you're considering getting a surgery, evaluate that. Make sure that you are ready to make a lifelong lifestyle change in order to better yourself, and that this is not some get skinny quick thing that is gonna just minorly inconvenience you and you're gonna be able to go right back into old habits and just not gain weight. This isn't that. So make sure you are mentally in the right place, would be my biggest advice. Next question is, what made you want to start documenting your VSG journey? And for this one, I have had a YouTube channel since 2010. I was never consistent on YouTube, but I had a YouTube channel since 2010. And outside of having a YouTube channel already, I also watch a lot of YouTube videos, and I personally go to YouTube for anything that I'm about to do that I want to learn more about. So for example, when I was a teacher, when I first started teaching, I watched YouTube videos of teachers to see what their days were like, to see if I'd be interested in it. When I went natural with my hair, I watched natural hair YouTube videos. When I got into makeup, I watched makeup videos. So naturally, when I started being interested in getting the surgery, I looked for VSG content videos. And I noticed that I was finding it difficult on YouTube anyway, because Instagram and TikTok have a lot of VSG creators there. But YouTube specifically, I was finding it difficult to find creators on YouTube that were consistent, that had a lot of content, that were clear and concise, and that I personally could relate to. And I didn't really find anybody who was giving me the content that I needed to really understand what the surgery was, and for me to feel like this is somebody that I can watch their journey and relate to it. So as I continuously looked for a person like that, I had found some people, but then they wouldn't have that many videos, and maybe they stopped vlogging a long time ago, or whatever the reason was, I didn't find anybody who was consistently doing this. So I felt like if I couldn't find anybody who was consistently doing this, then I could be that person who was consistently doing this, and at least be that for somebody else. So that's why I wanted to do this. But also, I felt like for myself, it would be nice to have this documented journey of the change in myself. So being able to go back, for me, I go back and watch my old videos, and I'm able to see myself at every step of the process. And it's like being able to go back in time and relive it and rewatch it. And sometimes I'm just inspired by watching my own journey. So between wanting to be that creator for people who are starting this journey, and also me wanting to have a documented, basically a documented live album of myself as I lost weight and as I changed as a person, I felt like vlogging my journey was the next best step. Also, I wanted to normalize getting weight loss surgery, just because I feel like a lot of people that are heavier feel like they have to do it the right way. But to me, there is no right way. The right way is the way that is going to make sure that you are as healthy as possible. The right way is the way that I can make sure that I'm going to be here for my husband and my daughter and the rest of my family and myself long term. So the right way is to get healthy. There's no right way to do it. There's a natural way to do it versus going the surgical route, but there's no right way. The right way is the way that you need to do for your body. And as a person like me who has tried to do it the natural way for so many years unsuccessfully, this was the right way for me. And I wanted to normalize that so that anybody who was in a predicament like I was when I was, at rock bottom and kind of hit my breaking point, I wanted them to know that it was okay to go this route and to be able to have my platform reach as far as it could, so that people knew that they didn't have to stay stuck in a body that they didn't love, that it was perfectly acceptable to go this route, and to see how that could work out for somebody. Just being able to be that motivation for other people helped give me purpose. And I have not regretted my decision to document this journey since. It is a lot. I am being very vulnerable in a way that is not natural to me. And I am opening myself up to a lot of criticism. But I noticed that compared to a lot of other people who document their journey, their VSG or bariatric surgery journey in general, I don't get a lot of negative comments. I don't get a lot of criticism. I don't get a lot of hate. And I think that's because I've been doing a good job at creating a safe space here. But yeah, I don't regret it. I'm so grateful that I did it. And I do definitely highly recommend documenting your journey, even if you just want to post it and don't want to share it. At least just having record of it for your own keeping would be good, just so you can go back and see how far you've come. But if you want to share, great. But if you don't want to share, at least have it for yourself. Next question says, I'm 3 weeks pre-op and super excited and nervous. If you would go back in time, what would you tell yourself going into surgery? If I could go back in time, what would I tell myself pre-op? If I can go back in time, I would tell myself, girl, just trust the process. Because I, by nature, am an overthinker. Anything doesn't go exactly how I planned it, I'm thinking about what I did wrong. And I definitely did that a lot in the beginning, especially with that 3-week stall, which I knew was going to come because I had researched it and I knew about it before anything. But I still overthought it and thought that I was doing something wrong. I was really, really down on myself. There's been times where like I've eaten something I should have and felt sick and felt down about myself. There's been times where I didn't eat enough or ate too much or did something and was just really, really hard on myself about that in the beginning. But if I could go back and talk to myself, I would tell me it's a process. You're learning. Like, you're still figuring out this new life. You're still relearning your relationship with food, your relationship with yourself. You are going through an experience that is a process. Nothing's going to change instantly. Things are going to take time. So just to do what you know you're supposed to do, and if you mess up, it's okay. You're human. But just go along with the flow. It's a process. It takes time. Know that you are doing nothing wrong. You just have to wait it out. And just allowing myself the freedom to not overthink every single step of the process and not put so much pressure on myself to do everything perfect. I would definitely give myself that reminder if I could go back and avoid some of my meltdowns I had early in the beginning about the scale not moving, or about my food choices, or about not seeing the weight loss in the mirror right away and things like that. I would just basically tell myself, like, chill. You're good, chill. And then the next question was similar to that. It said, what is something you wish someone told you before getting VSG? Currently waiting on a surgery date. Everything is approved. And she said, I love your content. So first of all, thank you. And I think what I wish someone told me is the same as what I wish I told myself, to just chill out and allow the process to happen and not to overthink every step of it, and to allow yourself to make mistakes, because mistakes is how you learn. The only reason I know that I can't eat certain things is because I ate it and I felt how it made me feel. And now I won't do that again because of how it made me feel. Things like that. Like, that's how you learn. The same reason my kid Ryan, the other day when I was cooking something for her in a toaster oven, she climbed up on a ladder and I said, Ryan, don't climb up here, the toaster's hot. She did it anyway, touched a toaster, burnt her hand, right? Horrible. She burnt her hand. That made me feel so horrible that she did that. She was crying. She also wasn't burned bad. She touched the outside of the toaster. Like, it wasn't, she didn't burn herself for real, but it was hot. But what that taught her now is when she sees me using the toaster, she doesn't climb up there anymore. Why? Because she knows it's hot now, because she touched it, she experienced it, she didn't like it, she's not going to do it again now. Same thing with this. We eat food, you test something out, it doesn't agree with your stomach, now you know you can't eat that anymore. Or maybe it does agree with your stomach, but you feel really sluggish afterwards. Or maybe it makes you throw up. Or maybe nothing at all happens and now you know that your stomach's actually good with that food. Or maybe you overate a little bit, but now you know where your limit is. So sometimes making mistakes is not a bad thing. It just teaches you what your limit is. It teaches you where to go from here. You know what you can eat because you've tried things that you couldn't eat, and now you're making better decisions because you know better. So I would definitely have wanted to be told that it is okay to not be perfect. It is okay to make mistakes. But what is not okay is to overindulge. I wish someone had just told me to give myself some grace through this journey. Next question says, is the psych evaluation hard to pass? I want to be honest regarding whatever's asked, but I also don't want to prolong my surgery. This is my last clearance needed prior to scheduling my surgery date. So I will say that no, the psych evaluation is not hard to pass, but that also is depending on the things that you say. So the therapist is not expecting you to give a bunch of answers that sound like you're just this perfect person who has no self-image issues. You say things like, you know, you're having a lot of issues with your self-esteem and things like that. Understandable. But if you're saying things like, I don't want to change my diet because I love overeating or something like that, that might be a flag. If you mention wanting to harm yourself because of your weight, if you mention, I don't know, anything that would just be a huge red flag. Like, you can be honest within reason, but you don't want to say anything that is going to cause there to be a red flag unless you feel like there is something that really should be flagged. Like, if you're, if you've been diagnosed with any mental conditions that would prevent you from being successful, the psychologist would need to know that, and that could potentially end up being a flag. But it's also about making sure that you're as healthy as possible. So if I would say for your psych evaluation, be as honest as possible, but don't say anything that is going to cancel your surgery that wasn't necessary for you to say. And I'm like struggling trying to think of what exactly you could say that would do that, because I feel like I was pretty honest on mine. I told her exactly how I had been feeling. I told her my insecurities were. I told her why I wanted the surgery and why I wanted to get better at these things. And I think basically during mine, I was being honest, but I was basically painting a picture of where I was mentally before, and then how I think the surgery could help me with those things. So I think that's why it was fine, because it was clear that I understood that I was going to be changing my life and I was no longer going to be doing the things that got me here in the first place. So I'd say that for the psych evaluation, they understand that you're human. They understand that a negative relationship with food or negative relationship with yourself and all this stuff got you here. So I think as long as you're not saying anything that's any alarming big red flags, then no, the psych evaluation should not be hard to pass. However, I have heard of people not passing it, but I'm not sure on what exactly they did or said that made them not pass it. But I would say, yeah, be honest. Be honest about what you've been going through, but also make it very clear that this is a road to recovery and that you are trying to fix these problems, and that surgery alone is not going to fix the problems. You're also going to have to work on the mental aspect of it as well, and acknowledge that. So overall, I'd say no, it's not hard to pass, but it is very hard possible to not pass it if you have anything in your history that is a bigger red flag, that's something that they would flag as like a bigger issue. But in that case, then I think that it would be logical to want to see the therapist more and have more meetings with them to make sure that you're in a good place to have this surgery. Because I would assume that if you said anything to the psychologist that they thought they needed to flag to not approve you for surgery, then maybe they're not 100% wrong, and that you might need a little bit more time to mentally prepare. Because one of the biggest, when I talked about in a different video, that to me the hardest part of the surgery is the mental side of it, and the body dysmorphia and the like mental health parts of it. Because like a lot of people can get really, really down and like deal with depression and all kind of stuff when it comes to the surgery. So you do want to make sure that you are mentally ready for this, and if you don't pass the psych evaluation, then maybe right now isn't the time. So yeah, I'd say to be as honest as possible, and you should be fine. But if it turns out that you weren't accepted, that's also okay, and you probably would have to do some more steps in order to get accepted. But then they're going to make sure that you're accepted at a time when you are mentally ready for this. It is a huge thing. You need to be mentally ready for this, even more so than physically ready for this. Next question says, what was your diet like leading up to the pre-op diet? The month before the surgery, I understand the diet is more restrictive, but the few months leading up to that, I want to lose weight and can't. Any recommendation? And then there's another part to this, or another question that says, how was your diet leading up to VSG surgery once you received your date? So these are two different things. My diet once I received my date is different than my diet before that. Once I received my date is when I was told that I needed to go on the liver shrinking diet. And at that point is when I started my 1200 calorie diet. And that was about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks before surgery. Prior to that, I was on no sort of diet. I was having a food funeral. I went on vacation. I did a 1 week all-inclusive vacation and I ate everything. And then even before my vacation, like during my process, I was eating. I was trying to, like I said, a food funeral. I had like a month-long food funeral, eating whatever I wanted to eat, doing a lot of things that I probably shouldn't have done, but it was fine. And just kind of enjoying food for the last time. If you are somebody who has an amount of weight you need to lose before surgery, I would not recommend doing this. And also, looking back on it, I don't think that month-long food funeral was necessary, because a lot of the things that I ate during that time, I've eaten again since surgery. Like, I didn't need to do that. Obviously, I can't eat as much of it as I could then, but like, getting the surgery does not mean that you're never gonna have these foods again. I think I was under the impression when I got this surgery that I wasn't gonna be able to have certain things ever again, which just simply isn't true. So because of that, I was trying to get in as much food that I thought I would never have again for the rest of my life before having surgery. So to answer your question, in the months leading up to surgery, I ate whatever I wanted to eat. And then in the 2 weeks before surgery, I ate a 1200 calorie diet, where I had to have a protein shake as one meal, and then I had 2 small meals every single day for 2 weeks. Next question is, when will you start a VSG support group or a Facebook group? So I've been thinking about starting a Facebook group specifically for a long time. My only concern with that is, one, I'm always thinking that nobody would want to sign up for these things if I did it. And then also I'm thinking about like actually the moderation of the group. I'm wondering if I would have the time to moderate a group. So I have to think about like what commitment from me that would take, and then also like getting over the imposter syndrome of thinking that nobody would want to join a group that I created. So yeah, it's definitely something I'm thinking about, and definitely something that I probably will do, but I just need to think about it and figure out like what exactly the logistics of that would be before I actually go ahead and do it. But trust me, if I do it, I'll mention it on this channel, and I will definitely mention it on my Instagram. So if you are following me on Instagram already, I post a lot over there. I post what I eat. I post non-scale victories. Almost every single day I'm posting content over there related to VSG. So if you're not following me on Instagram, make sure that you follow me on Instagram so you don't miss anything. But I definitely post a lot of content there. And if I was to start a Facebook group, or any sort of group for that matter, that would be the first place you would see it. YouTube also did just give me the option to do a group here, where people would get like personalized content and stuff like that, but that one you'd have to pay for. So I didn't think that that was something that I want to do. I don't want to make people pay for anything. So I'm curious to know if anybody would be willing to do that. So let me know if that's something you want. I think Instagram also has a similar option. Like, there's things like Patreon, but then the Facebook option is free, which is why I'm more so leaning towards that. But yeah, I got to figure out the logistics. But if you're interested in that, let me know in the comments. And then if I do end up going that route, I will let you know on Instagram first, and then I'll mention it in YouTube videos. So yeah, follow me on Instagram for any updates on that. Okay, so the next question says, what is one advice you would give someone who just had VSG? So to think of one piece of advice, I would probably go with the advice I'd give to myself, which is just to trust the process, relax, allow yourself to make mistakes, you're human. That advice, but also I would recommend to them to join as many Facebook groups as possible, to follow as many content creators that make VSG content on Instagram and on TikTok and on YouTube, and to also find some sort of person you can speak to on a regular basis, whether that's a friend who's had the surgery, a content creator like myself, content creators on any of those platforms, people who've had the surgery in the support groups. Just finding community and people that you can lean on to ask questions. Like, obviously you can call your doctor with questions, but you're not always going to want to go that route. So just having a place to be able to lean on and ask people and get support is so necessary throughout this journey, or else it will feel very isolating, because the people in your immediate life most likely won't get it in the way that somebody who's had the surgery will. So I'd recommend joining Facebook groups, following influencers, regardless of what platform they're on, and just finding a group of people that understand and that you can ask questions to. I think would be one of the biggest things that I tell someone who just had the surgery. All right, next question says, do you miss your old eating habits and how much you used to eat? And was it difficult to change your eating habits after surgery? So to answer the first part of that question, do I miss my old eating habits? No. My old eating habits were ridiculous. Like, I wasn't a binge eater in that I would just eat all day. But when I did eat, I would eat a lot of food in one sitting where it was just not necessary. Like, to give an example, right now, if I wanted something quick, I would go to Chick-fil-A. And I would go to Chick-fil-A, I would get like 8-piece grilled nuggets. I would eat 4 of them right now, and then I would have 4 of them for dinner, and that would be 2 meals for me. And that would be all I would have ordered from Chick-fil-A. Before surgery, I would have ordered a large sweet tea. I would have ordered a large fry, a spicy chicken sandwich, like a 8-piece tenders, and then I would have ordered maybe like a nuggets on top of that, and then maybe left a little bit for later, and then still had dinner later. Like, I would just eat a lot of food in one moment. If I ordered Domino's, right now I've ordered Domino's since surgery. I usually get the flatbread pizza. I eat like 2 pieces, and then I have the rest over the next like 3 days. Before, I would order a regular size pizza with the normal crust that isn't flat, and I would eat the entire pizza in one sitting. So I absolutely do not miss my old eating habits, because they were gluttonous. Like, I would just eat so much food in one sitting, whereas now I eat those same foods, but just so much less of it, to where I still get to satisfy the craving, but I'm not even close to overindulging on anything. And that is just so much more healthy. Like, I'm not restricting myself, but I'm also not overindulging in this food that is just so unnecessary. On top of the fact that it's not healthy, it's also really expensive to eat that way. And I'm not doing myself a service in any way when I was eating that way. So now I love that I can have a slice of pizza and just eat a few bites and be full and move on. Versus before, feeling the need to eat an entire pie. Like, there was no reason to eat that way. So I'm really, really loving the way I eat now, being able to have a small amount of something and not be hungry. I much rather be able to eat this way than the way I used to eat. Like, I never get upset that I can't finish my food. Every time I don't finish my food, I'm kind of like, well, more food for me later. Like, I'm not upset about it. Like, I know that any meal I eat is going to stretch over a couple days, and I'm cool with that. Not just cool with that, I'm happy with that, because I know how big of a difference that is from how I used to eat. And I don't ever want to go back to eating an entire box of pizza, or like 4 different entrees from Chick-fil-A, or like an entire large bowl of food, pounds of like, it was just so much food. And I feel like at the time, like, for example, if I had made myself some like chicken and rice, the amount of rice that I would have put on that plate before, like, sometimes when I serve food for other people who still eat normally, I'm like, holy shit, that's a lot of food. Whereas now I'm just like, boop, like making these tiny little bowls for myself and being satisfied with that. I just feel so much better about what I'm putting into my body now than the amount of excess food that I was eating for no actual reason before. So no, I do not regret that, and I do not miss the my eating habits from before. Also before, like, if I was full and I had like a little bit of food left, I would force myself to eat it because I didn't feel like leaving the food there. Now I literally will leave 1 bite of chicken on a plate and just be like, all right, whatever, I couldn't finish it. I won't force myself to eat it. And I just think that is so much better for me than forcing myself to be overly full. Look, dark times, dark times. And then the second part of this question said, was it difficult to change your eating habits after surgery? And for me, no, this wasn't difficult because of the restriction. And like, for me, my restriction was a lot tighter in the beginning. So I literally was eating less food because I couldn't eat more food. So like, it wasn't like something that was difficult. I physically could not eat more. So that's just what it was. And then when it comes to what I'm eating, so like how now I get the grilled nuggets opposed to the breaded nuggets. And that's not to say that I never have the breaded nuggets, because I do still sometimes have those, but they make me full quicker than the grilled ones do. So if I eat the grilled nuggets, I can get more protein in than if I eat the breaded ones. On top of the fact that the grilled nuggets are healthier for me because they're not fried or breaded, I literally can eat more of them than I can eat with the other ones, and I prioritize my protein. So I'm gonna go with the grilled nuggets because I know I can eat more of them. Therefore, I can get more protein in and meet my protein goals faster than if I eat the fried ones that are gonna be less healthy for me. I'm only gonna be able to have like 2 or 3, whereas I can have like 4 or 5 of the grilled ones. So to me, it kind of is like a no-brainer. And then in the event that I'm craving the fried ones, I just have it. And then next time I get the grilled ones, and I just don't make it a thing. So I kind of love my eating habits now. I'm a lot more about thinking about the purpose behind the food versus thinking about food for joy. And it's been working out great for me. So no, I don't regret a thing. I'm very, very happy with my eating habits now. All right, next question says, I'm currently going through a program at Washington Hospital Center in DC, and I've only met with the surgeon once in my initial consultation, and the rest of the program has been virtual, over the computer and through telephone consults. I feel like the support is really lacking and I'm on my own, which doesn't make me feel very enthusiastic about the whole process. Was your program similar to this, or did you have a relationship with your doctor, hands-on, more in-person interaction with the rest of the team? Am I expecting too much, or is my experience part of the course? So this sounds pretty much like how my experience was. All of my appointments were virtual until I did my pre-op appointment, because I had to come in, they had to weigh me in the office. But other than that appointment, everything was virtual. So only things I ever came in for was for my blood work, my pre-op appointment where they took my weight in the office, my endoscopy, of course. Yeah. So I think before surgery, I'd only ever physically been to my doctor's office 3 times. And then after surgery, I went there 2 times. Yeah. So all in all, I've only ever been to my doctor's office, I think 5 times ever in life. Yeah. So yeah, so your experience sounds pretty similar to my experience. I think a big part of that is, COVID made a lot of places start doing virtual appointments, and that just became like an easier way to do things. You can get more people in one day doing that. So I think it was just a convenience thing. Also, for me, I did have the option to schedule in person if I wanted to. But I chose to do it virtual for the same reason I'm sure they did. It's just more convenient to do it that way, especially when they didn't have anything that I needed to be in the office to do. So I just scheduled all of my appointments virtual except for the ones that had to be in person. So yeah, I do think that your experience is normal, well, compared to what my experience was. But if you are looking for a more in-person thing, you can try and see if they can make your appointment in person, if that would make you feel more comfortable. Because I know from my doctor, if I didn't feel comfortable doing the virtual appointments, I had the option to schedule them in person. So I'd say a next step for you would be to call your doctor's office and see if your next appointment can be rescheduled to be in person instead of continuing with the virtual appointments. And they probably do have an option to do them in person. But I will say, as far as getting all your appointments done quick, if you want to get your surgery done quicker than later, doing the virtual appointments should be the fastest way to get them done. But I do get that desire to have that in-person connection with your team, because it is easier to build connections with people in person. So if that's the case, definitely ask your doctor or ask the receptionist or whoever you've been in contact with if you can schedule your appointments moving forward in person, and see if that's an option for you. If it's not, you can also see if maybe you want to move and switch to a different office that does in-person visits. But if it's not that important to you, I'd leave it how it is, because as long as you are getting the appointments done, that's what matters. So For me, it wasn't that big of a deal to have them virtual, but if it is a big deal to you, then definitely call and see if you can get them rescheduled to be in person. All right, next question says, did you have any eating disorders such as food addiction or binge disorder? And how is your relationship with food now? So I didn't have any eating disorders recently. When I was younger, I did, in that sometimes I would force myself to throw up, or I would take laxatives and force myself to have a bowel movement to get rid of food if I felt like I was eating bad, because I just had always had this very toxic relationship with food where I would overeat, and then after I overate, I would feel bad about it and then try to get rid of the food. I haven't done that as of recent, so it's been a lot of years since I've done that. But I did do that in the past. More recently, before surgery, I would just feel really down about myself and kind of spiral. So I would eat something bad, feel bad about it, get depressed, and instead of fixing it, I would just continue eating bad and just be depressed in a dark hole. So I don't know if that would be considered a binge eating disorder, but it wasn't extreme to where I'd be just like sitting there just stuffing my face or anything. But I definitely had a very toxic relationship with food and with diet culture. I was constantly yo-yo dieting, and when I wasn't yo-yo dieting, I was depressed about the things I was eating and then continuing to eat bad. So I don't know if I would call it an eating disorder. I definitely would have called my younger self when I would throw up or take laxatives, that I would call it eating disorder. But in my adult life, I would say no, not an eating disorder, just a really, really unhealthy relationship with food and my mind and body. All right, next question says, how did you get over your fear of complications? And I would say that I was scared of complications, but I never really overthought, like I didn't overthink it. I think that with anything you do, there are going to be complications. Even getting pregnant. With pregnancy, there are complications. But the prize is this beautiful baby that you get to have. So you don't overthink the complications because you want to have this beautiful baby and enjoy the moment. So when it came to the surgery, yes, I knew that there's the possibility of complications. But one, I don't like to put negative thoughts out there. So instead of thinking, I didn't want to think about them, and I definitely didn't want to speak them out loud, because I do believe that your words can become reality and your thoughts can become reality. So I tried not to think about it. I never spoke about them out loud. And then also in my mind, there's a risk of complications, yes, but there's also the potential for me to have an extreme change in my life for the better. And wanting to think about and devote my time, energy, and my thoughts to how positive things would be for me afterwards really, really outweighed any sort of negative thoughts I had about complications. I just really was intentional about not allowing myself to be overcome with fear about the complications, because it wasn't even 100% chance that you would have any complications. So I definitely did not want to speak them into existence. So I guess to answer your question, the way I got over my fear of my complications is by simply not overthinking them, and definitely not speaking of them out loud or trying to give any amount of energy towards thinking about the complications. And I was fine. But I feel like it's the kind of thing that, yes, it can happen, but I'm much more excited about changing my life than changing my life for the better and having a healthy relationship with my food, my mind, and my body, and my family, and everyone. I was way more excited about that than I was scared of any complications that might happen. That was like a small percentage that it could even happen. Not to say that they don't happen, but for the most part, most people have a smooth recovery. And in the event that it does happen, it's one of those things where you have no control over it. So I have a life philosophy that I cannot stress over things that I cannot control. And that was my last question. If you asked a question about pre-op and you didn't hear your exact question, it might have been that I looped it in with a different question, or stay tuned, you might hear it in part 3. I answered every single question. The only questions I did not answer are questions that were similar to questions that I already answered. So hopefully everybody's heard their question in here somewhere. If you did hear your question, go ahead and give me a heart emoji in the comments so I know that I've answered your question. You don't got to say which question was yours. Just drop the heart emoji so we know that you got a question answered in this video. My hope and intention with these Q&A videos is that anybody who's starting their journey or started their journey or thinking about starting their journey. I want to help make this process easier for other people, and like I said, help normalize this and get as much people as possible on the journey to being a better version of themselves. I've already seen such a positive change in myself, and I just want to share the love and share this with as many people as possible. So hopefully this video was enjoyable, and hopefully, more importantly, hopefully it was helpful. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in my next video.
Where in the world is Karen San Diego? From BK to Belly, it's anywhere she say so. She changing your life, can see it straight through her eyes.